So the Baalim are generally the main, the most common idol worship in the land of Canaan. And Baal is also a generic name. It was a generic name for the idols of those times. And it was also here, it was a specific idol. I don't want to go into the particular idolatry of Baal, which is described very unpleasant, coarse, vulgar, degraded. It's all idol worship. They served the Baal, and then they also served the Ashtaroth. Ashtaroth are tree worshippers, right? We know that throughout the culture, the Greeks had shrines, and they were the tree worshippers. And then it says they also served the gods of Aram, and they also served the gods of Sidon, and they also served the gods of Moab, and the gods of Bnei Ammon, and all the gods of the Philistines. In other words, we served whatever was going around. We went from one to another, or whatever the local idol was, we did idol worship. And it adds, and they abandoned the Almighty, and they did not serve Him. Why does it add this? Because often people who did idol worship would do it in conjunction with also keeping the Torah and the mitzvahs, however strange that is. You know, people go to shul, and then who knows what they do when they come home. They do speculate. So here they were, and also it's called shutfus, partnership, because as we know, they originally, as the Rambam explains, the original phenomenon of idol worship was that people did not deny God. Of course, there's God, but it's unapproachable. You can't get to God. It's like way too high. So we have little local, smaller idols, which we do serve, which is a way to coming into it. That's the basis of some Eastern religions also, that they have lower, and also the Greeks, they have, the gods will have orders, and so but here we gave that, we abandoned Hashem. The verse said that not only did we do all this idol worship, but we didn't even do any service to the Almighty. We gave up the Almighty. So he was very angry. Hashem, they use the word which usually means, Hashem spoke in this way, usually means the God of mercy, the loving God. So even if we say that aspect of the God is a loving God, he was very angry with us. So what does he do when he's angry with us? Vayim Koreim, he sold them into the hands of the Philistine and into the hands of Bnei Ammon. So now the Philistine on the whole, on the west side, where it's Israel, we know Gaza, the Gaza Strip, that was the center of the Philistine. Probably said many times they came from boat, probably from Gaza. And the Bnei Ammon were on the east. They were on the east bank, and they were further east than the Jewish settlements on the east bank. We have the furthest north was Manasseh, and then we have Gad, and then we have Reuben, which are more or less opposite on the east bank today, the other side of the Jordan, probably spreading from the Dead Sea up until the Kinneret. And the Bnei Ammon were on the east of that. But they came in, and they, we're going to see in a moment, and not only did they make, the Almighty sold us, the Almighty sold us to them, so we're like they're more than slaves, right? A sold object, they do what you like. So he sold them, so he sold in Eretz Israel itself, and to the Philistine, and on the east bank to the children of Ammon. And the Navi uses two words here, very powerful language, like crushing, breaking, treating us with tremendous power and violence, language of violence. And he uses two words which are related words. The roots are related. Wa'atsu, the Waitsu has the idea of violence, running, and power. So they treated us with great violence, the children of Israel, that year. And then, not only in that year, and it went on for 18 years. For 18 years, all the Jewish people who were the children of Israel on the other side of the Jordan, in the land of the Amori, which is called Gilad. Now remember, the Amori were the people that we conquered when we first came in, before we crossed over to Eretz Yisrael, from Goshen, and we conquered that part. And that was where the part that the tribes, first of all, of Reuben and Gad, and then later half of Manasseh settled. So that area we had taken from the Amorite, and now it's called the Ammonite area. And these people from Ammon, who are over the other side, further east, not only did they treat with great violence the people on the Jews on the East Bank, but they also crossed over the Jordan and they made war against Yehuda and Benjamin, which means that they're the more southern tribes, right? Yehuda, we know, was let's say, coming south from Jerusalem, and Benjamin was coming north from Jerusalem. And they went further north up to Ephraim, but Tate Sel Yisrael, they caused great pain and hardship to Israel. So we have had up to now different peoples, as we've been through the book of Shoftim, Judges. It seems that every nation in the vicinity takes its turn to conquer us when we do bad. So this is no exception. Now we have people from the nation. So what do we do when we have trouble? As always, so we cried out, as we always do. We cried out to the Almighty. When we were in trouble, we cried out to the Almighty, and we said, we have sinned against you, and we have abandoned our God, and we have served these idols. So we come back, we ask the Almighty to help. So what does the Almighty say to us? And the Almighty says to children of Israel, well, wait a moment, he says, I've saved you from the Egyptians, and I saved you from the Amorites, and apparently for some other time from the Bnei Ammon. Or now perhaps another way of reading it, and should I save you from the Bnei Ammon and from the Philistine, and the Zidonim, and Amalek, and Ma'on, all these other people pressed you, and you cried to me, and I saved you from their hands. And now you're crying to me again. And you abandoned me. I saved you, and you abandoned me. And you served these other gods. So what does the Almighty say? Remember, this is the aspect of mercy and love. So he says, I'm not going to save you anymore. It's enough. He says, you've got all these other gods, so go and ask them to save you. You don't need me. You do idol worship. I'm not going to save you anymore. I've saved you enough. How many times, right? How many times? And it's not like I'm abandoning you. The Almighty says, so to speak, with us far. He says, you have these other gods. Go and ask these other gods to help. Let them save you in the time of your distress. Okay. So, of course, we know about these other gods are no good. When push comes to shove, any idol worshipper really knows that the idols are useless. Right? Even in the time of Eliyahu at Carmel, they faked it. They put some people underneath to learn that truth. So, and we know the famous story of Avraham Avinu, right? But it's very important to understand because it explains Avraham Avinu's father was an idol maker, right? And one night Avraham Avinu comes and he smashes all the father's idols. So his father wakes up, he says to Avraham Avinu, "What's going on here? You broke my idols?" So I didn't do it, that one over there. And he pointed to it. So his father gave him a crowd. Because people know, you know, they go, they say, well, idols, but really in their heart they know that the idols have no value. It's a ceremonial thing. Pleasure from it, or it satisfies whatever. It becomes a vessel. In serious terms, it becomes a vessel for the power of evil. There's a power of evil. And the power of evil uses idols and people's attraction to idols in order to work evil. But at a rational moment, people know they don't have any value. So here too. So when the Almighty says, "I'm not going to save you anymore, go and pray to your idols, get them to help you." So they cried again. This time they did more than cry. So it says this time, they cried again, the children of Israel, to the Almighty, saying, "We have sinned. We have sinned, and you do whatever is good in your eyes. Please rescue us today." And they removed idols from their midst, and they served the Almighty. And what an interesting phrase is this. "V'tikso nafsho ba'amal Yisrael." They come to the Almighty, they sin, they come to the Almighty, forgive us, forgive us. No! Saved you now, finished. You're on your own. Go to your idols. So we cry again to the Almighty. We cry again and we get rid of the idols and we do the Buddha. We serve Hashem and we say, whatever you, please help us and do whatever you have to do. And it says, "V'tikso nafsho ba'amal Yisrael," that the Spirit of the Almighty, tikso, is like he'd come to an end. He couldn't take anymore. He couldn't take the suffering of Israel. What an interesting thing. It's a personification. Of course, we know that the Almighty is total, but at this level, at a certain level, it's saying that the Almighty is affected by our prayers and our tears. Coming up to Tisha B'Av, or maybe next week we'll talk more about it. But there is a point at which, of course, it's very hard to say when he says, "I'm not going to save you anymore." On the other hand, we know that the Almighty has taken a shiur, an oath, that He will bring us through. Whatever troubles, whatever it is, He will bring us through. And it says in the Gemara that the Almighty gave an oath that the Jewish people, we will have eternity, and we will come through, and we will be victorious in the end. That is an oath that he took by his holy name. So what does it mean by his holy name? So the Gemara explains that if the Almighty had taken an oath by the heavens and the earth, by the heavens and the earth he takes an oath. So he could destroy the heavens. He could knock them off. So the oath wouldn't stand. And his holy name is indestructible. It's like the aspect, the external aspect, but it is the aspect of the divine. So that when he takes an oath in his holy name, nothing can ever change that. We know that whatever happens, of course, God forbid, some terrible things happen. We have to do what we have to do. At the same time, we have this eternal promise that he will bring us through. So in a way, this isn't a contradiction, it's an example of it. Because at that level, that rational level, where he says it's enough's enough, every day it's a new story, right? You're a savior. You go back, you do the same thing. You go back, you do the same thing. And therefore, at one point, he says enough. When we cry to him from the depths of our heart, so it says, his nefesh, so to speak, he couldn't stand it anymore. He couldn't stand to see the Jewish people crying and in such distress. Good. So therefore, he's going to save us again. And this next chapter will deal with who is going to save us. So before that, we just said that all the people of Ammon gathered together and they camped in Gilad. And we collected an army and we camped in Matzpeh. This is all, remember, on the east bank. And now, Gilad, which I think, as I said before, was in Manasseh. You remember that originally there were only two tribes that came to Moshe and that wanted to stay in the east bank, which was Reuben and Gad. So Gad, I think, was richer than Reuben. Whatever it is, then later on in the same verses, it talks about the half a tribe of Manasseh. So some people say Manasseh was a very military tribe, strong tribe. So some people say that they stayed behind in order to support them, help them, because they were much closer to all these enemies that keep coming, Moab, Ammon. So I think this is in the Manasseh on the east bank, which is the northern section. And they said, all the chiefs of Gilad, who will be, which man will be appointed or will be the right man to do battle against Bnei Ammon. That man will be the leader of the whole of the people of Gilad, which is this area. So they're saying we've got to have a man, a good, strong man to lead us, because that's the nature of society in general and war in particular. In war, you've got to have a leader, right? So generally, it has to be a strong, powerful man. So they said, we find such a man, and not only will we make him, so to speak, the general or the head of the army, but he will be the Rosh, the head of all the people who live in Gilad. So now we start chapter. And Yiftach the Giladi was a mighty warrior, a mighty man. Immediately we know that there is a man in Gilad who has the qualities of Gibor Chal. Gibor is power, strength, and Chal similar, but also like it often used in war, in fighting as a soldier. So he was a very mighty man of valor. Vahu ben Ishazon, and he was the son of, now usually Zona is translated as a whore. Rahab is called, right? You know from Yeshua, she's called Zona. However, sometimes that's translated as Zona is also from the Russian of Mazon, which is food, like an innkeeper or something like that. Whether that means that most women who were innkeepers had another side business on the side, or whether some people say one thing or another, but whatever it is, it's certainly a description which is not flattering. So his mother was a Zona, and she gave birth to the father Gilad Yiftach. So Gilad, since he has the same name as the area and the people, he was obviously a prince, a very important person. And the wife, so if you say, as we saw before, that Pelageshet is also like it's like a secondary translated as a concubine, but it means that halachically it's not a full wife. Either she doesn't have a tuba, she doesn't live with them. One said she lived with her father. This one, whatever it is, she's not like as high up in the hierarchy as the wife. So Gilad's wife gave birth to sons, and when they grew up, the sons, then they expelled Yiftach. They threw him out, which means that he had lived at home. Because he was the father's son. But since his mother was not wife in the full halachic sense, the sons got rid of him. They threw him out, and they said to him, "You will not inherit the house of our father, for you're the son of some other woman outside them, not like our mothers are." So whether they halachically right or not, is one question. But certainly they just threw him out and said, "You're not going to inherit with us. We don't want you to get out." And but he was a mighty warrior. So what did he do? So Yiftach fled from his brothers, and he went and lived in a land which was called Tov. Tov means good. Why is it called good? Some people say it was good because it was much further to the east. It was like, let's say, on the eastern border of the areas of the tribe, and it's called the land of good. And by luck to Yiftach Anashim Rekim Vayitzrim. Very interesting. We saw when we were talking about Elimelech, and remember he got 70 pieces of gold and he hired all these people. So here, although it doesn't say he hired them, but it says Anashim Rekim, same kind of language. People, what do you mean empty people? They didn't have anything to do. Like people who had no regular jobs, who had no land, who presumably had no occupation. So these kinds of people formed a band, and he collected them. Well, they collected to him, actually, it says. But he had his own band, his own private kind of militia. Now we see very interestingly later on when David HaMelech was running away from Shaul, he went to live in the Negev. First of all, he also had the first 200, another 200 people that said people of bad spirits, people who had lost court cases, like criminals. There's a certain, the lower depths it's called, because those are the people who don't have a regular income, a regular place to live, family. So they're attracted to this leader because in the meantime they serve him, whatever, and he provides for them. So this is what happened here. So Yiftach had a collection of these, they call them empty people. And they went out with him. So when he went out, he had this whole private militia, private army. Now this was the time, now was the time when the Bnei Ammon, the people from Ammon, were waging war with Israel. And while the war was going on, so the elders of Gilead, they came in order to take Yiftach back from the land of Tob, which was far away from where the war was going on. And they said to Yiftach, come, you should be a captain for us, and then we'll be able to do battle with Bnei Ammon. They knew that he was a very powerful, strong man, Gibor Chayil. He had those qualities of leadership. And furthermore, he had his own private little militia. So they go to him and say, come back, you don't have to live out there in exile, come back with us, and you will be, the word at this stage is a katzin. But Yiftach said to the elders of Gilead, but you hate me, you always hated me, you were my enemies, you hated me. And you drove me out from my father's house. You threw me out of my own house, my father's house. Because they're the same people. And why do you come to me now when you have trouble? All of a sudden you remember me now, you're in times of distress and stress, you come to me. But you hated me and you threw me out of my father's home. So the elders of Gilead said to him, said to Yiftach, well, the past is the past. That's why we've come to you now, that you should come with us and you should do battle with us against the Bnei Ammon, and you will be the Rosh, the leader. They use the word Rosh, the leader. They don't use the word Melech or the king, but they use the word Rosh. You will be the leader for all the people of living Gilead. It's true, what happened, happened, but now we want you to come back and we want you to be our leader. This is a time of distress. So Yiftach said to the elders of Gilead, so if you're gonna bring me back to do battle with Bnei Ammon, and then the Almighty will give them before me and we will be victorious, so I will become your leader. So we saw just a couple of chapters ago, when we were talking about Gideon, that they wanted him to become the king after the war and the victory. He didn't want it. He was a humble man, he just wanted to go home. And we have not seen at any time up to now, except for Avimelech, who really never did saved us, that we see. We've never seen up to now that any of the Shoftim want to take on positions in leadership or authority in the country. They are, up to now, they have been humble men. Of course, when the occasion demands, they do what they have to do, to go whatever. All of them. But here, Yiftach is a whole new subject, right? Because he says, well, all right, you want me to come back and lead you in the war, but if I lead you in the war and win the war, I want to get the rewards of victory. I want to be your leader. So they accepted him because they needed him. Remember, we had been under the domination of Ammon, how long now? For 17 years. And 18 years. 18 years. And the Almighty only very reluctantly said he's going to help us. So they agreed to the terms. And they say to him, may the Almighty be a witness, they say, that if we don't do according to what you say. So now Yiftach went back with the elders of Gilead, and they sent him up as a Rosh, a head, and a Katzin, as the leader of the army. And Yiftach said all these words before the Almighty. What does it mean he said all the words before the Almighty mitzvah? So it means that he wanted everyone to know that he was a legitimate son, and that he wanted to have a share in his father's estate. Now, before he goes to war, Yiftach seeks peace. He seeks peace. And he sends malachim, messengers, emissaries, to the king of Bnei Ammon, saying, Mali ulacha, what are we going to fight about? Come to do a war in my land. Remember that Bnei Ammon was not part of, was to the east. It wasn't their land. And on the face of it, he's saying, what are you coming to crush us with such violence for? What did we do to you? And what claim have you got against us that we have to go for? It's a very rational, civilized approach. So they said to him, what do you mean? We have a good claim. They said to him, because Yisrael took away my land, this is what the king said. He says, Ki lokach Yisrael es artzi. Yisrael took away my land, Vados and the Mitzrayim, and they came out of Egypt, from Arnon to Yibok to the Jordan. And now give us back the land and we can live in peace, right? We hear these, it's not a new argument, right? They're claiming that we took someone else's land and just give us back the land and we can live in peace. So now, Yiftach gives them a history lesson. He gives quite a long history lesson. He sends back other messages and he reminds them of the truth. He says, we didn't take away your land. First of all, we didn't take away the land of Moab, and we didn't take away the land of Bnei Ammon, your land at all. When we came from Egypt, so he tells the whole story. We went through the desert until we got to the Yam Suf, to the Dead Sea, and the Red Sea. And we came to Kadesha, and we went to Edom. First of all, we sent messages to Edom, said, can we go through your land? And the king wouldn't take it. So we let us, so we had to go all the way around. Then we went to Moab, and we asked if we could go through their land. So we would, and they wouldn't let us. So we didn't go to war, not a war like people unnecessarily go for this. We didn't go to war against Moab to pass through. We didn't go to war against Edom to pass through. We went all the way around, all the way avoiding, remember, Edom and Moab on the east bank to the south. We went all the way round to the east outside of them. We took a whole circuit around, and we then went to Sichon, the king of the Amorites, and king of Heshbon, and said, now can we go through your land? We have to go through your land. It was necessary to get, because that was the land was adjacent to the Jordan, right? And below to Eureka, so we have to go through their land to get to Eretz Yisrael. There was no other way to come to Eretz Yisrael. So can we please go through your land? He says, but he didn't trust us. So he assembled his entire nation, and they camped and they made war against us. So the Almighty delivered the sick on his people to our land. And then we took the entire land of the Amorites, these people, from Arnon to Yabok. So we took that strip of the east bank, which was adjacent to the Yarden, for the people of the Amorites who came against us with war, but we didn't expect. First of all, it was never your land. That belonged to the Amorite. You're not the Amorite. You're B'nai Ammon. Your land is all further to the east. So don't say we took away the land. And you see that the Almighty gave away the land from those people and gave it to us, and now you want to take it. So, he says, and Yiftach says, you're the same as Balak. We didn't do anything against you. Well, let the Almighty judge. We'll take the case to the Almighty and we'll see that we took your land, we took your land, but we didn't take your land. You've got no claim. So let's live in peace. But the children of Israel, but the B'nai Ammon didn't want to listen to that, and they wanted to take war against us. You see that. People, it's not to do with rationality or sense. They hate us, and they wanted to do war against us. So they continued to mass their army to attack. So now it says, V'tehi al Yiftach ruach Hashem. Even though Yiftach is rather an anomalous kind of person, because he was quite happy to take the offer to be a king, etc. But now we see the Almighty, as always, he chooses the leader that the time demands. We might look at him in hindsight, that thought he wasn't such a leader, etc. But at the time, the Almighty picks the leader that the time demands, and what does he do? He gives him Ruach Elokim. Ruach is a high spiritual aspect. And not only is it the Ruach, but the Ruach that comes from the Almighty is a very high spiritual aspect. And he went right through the whole land of Gilead and Manasseh, and he passed right through Mitzvah, and he went right up to the enemy. He brought his whole army, led by the Spirit of Hashem, right up to the army, and then he made a neder. He made a neder. On the face of it, you could say, well, it's right. Remember, Yaakov Avinu makes an oath before he leaves Eretz Yisrael. He says, "Mighty, bring me back in peace," etc. But here he made a neder, and Yiftach said he made a neder to the Almighty. He said, if the Almighty will give the B'nai Ammon my people, so the first thing that comes out of my house when I come home, I will bring it up as an offering, as an olah to you. I'll bring a sacrifice. We win the battle, I'll go home. I won't do anything else. I won't relax, I won't rest, I won't do anything. The very first thing that comes out the house, straight away I'll bring as a sacrifice. So we know the story, but it's worth repeating. So Yiftach crossed and encountered the B'nai Ammon in battle, and the Almighty gave them in his hand. Usually that means that it's all a complete victory, right? We lose no one and they lose everyone. So that's what happened here. He struck them from one place to another place, it's 20 cities, and a very great blow, and they were absolutely, which means they were humble. After 18 years of treating us with violence and slavery, they were humble. One battle, it was all over. So that the verses don't describe the battle very much. They say they give the places, and they say a tremendous blow was given, and they were humble before it. So Yiftach came bar mitzvah to his house, and his daughter came out to greet him with drums and dancing, and she was his only child. He didn't have any. He received a last. Maybe had 30 sons, or 70 sons. He didn't have any sons. He had this one daughter. And she came out to greet Abba, right, with her drums and dancing. And when he saw her, he remembered his neder and he ripped his garment. And he said, my daughter, you have brought me to my knees. And he said, you are you are part now of all my troubles, because I have opened my mouth to Hashem and I cannot look at it. In other words, he said, I made a neder that the first, whatever came out of my house first, I would bring up as a neder. So this is extremely difficult.
Extremely what?
Difficult, because in the halacha, he didn't mean his daughter, he meant an animal, right? And he would go to a chacham, a wise man, and you can get a neder revoked in the right circumstance. And it would, what?
Is it human sacrifice?
No. God forbid, we're not allowed to do it. I mean, you go to Avon and Yitzchak, but no, it's not a kosher sacrifice. The Almighty says a sacrifice can only come from cows, goats, and sheep, and in certain circumstances, birds. Okay, it's not a kosher sacrifice. So it would almost certainly be that it was not a valid neder, or you could get excused for it. So now the verse will go on, and I don't want to go to the whole story, but cries and what can we do, etc. So there is a certain ambiguity in the story. Some people say that what he did was he separated her and he sent her to live in isolation. And then once a year, the girls, her friends used to go and see her for 4 days. But she lived in isolation all her life. She never married and she was isolated. So in that way, he felt he fulfilled his neder, because he's like separated her. She became like as a sacrifice. It has two aspects. First of all, it's going to be brought as a sacrifice. But secondly, it's separated. It has a fiduci, a makdish. So one view is actually brought as a sacrifice, and the other view is that it's separated. So it's whatever view we take, doesn't matter, because it throws light. Of course, it matters, but in a sense, the account of what happened again is throwing light on who we were at that time. Now, on the one hand, first of all, in order to understand them, we have to know that they were nearer the time of creation. They were nearer the time of the beginning of things. And things were much more extreme, in some ways much greater. People were giants, you know. Moshe Rabbeinu, it says, was a giant. And all that whole generation that came out of Egypt, it says they were giants. And some people lived long times. And they had tremendous power. So either you could say, well, they were all stories and fables, or you could say, no, we look at it, we have to understand that these people were mamish giants, powerful figures in both ways. They were mythological figures. So I happen to think mythological doesn't mean it didn't happen. It did happen, but it's not according to our normal understanding of what goes on. So they were very powerful. We're going to see the next prophet is Shimshon, Samson. So we have to understand that this goes both ways. It's for the good, and it's also for the bad. Maybe that's what I have to do. It's true, I can go to the rabbis, and the rabbis say you don't have to do it. But I meant it. I said the very first thing that comes out of my house is going to be a sacrifice. I'm not allowed to bring her as a sacrifice to her. But she's going to be a sacrifice in that she's going to be removed. It will be a great sacrifice for me because it's my only daughter. I don't have any other children. She came out with drums and dancing, and for him to put her in isolation and separate himself from her is a great sacrifice. Much more of a sacrifice than taking an animal and putting it on the altar. So for him, that was fulfilling his neder. I would prefer to learn it that way. That of course it didn't kill her. And there were those who say it did, but I don't. But let's take the other view that it didn't. But that to remove her was to make her sacrifice. That's what the hekdesh is when you give something to the base of it. You take it away from the normal run of things. So in a sense it was an elevation. But in another sense it was a very tragic great loss. Okay, so we'll stop now. Now to turn this on. Which one is correct? I suppose you turn the computer.
Okay. That's it.
Right.
We'll have it for tonight.
Yes.